Alright YouTube, today is a very special double episode. That's not what I meant. Today I'm going to be talking about two games that started in the arcades and were later ported to the NES by Data East. Bet you didn't even know I had magic. Bad Dudes and Karnov. Let's go.
In Soviet Russia, I got nothing. Karnov is a platformer released in 1987 in the arcades and eventually was ported to several platforms including the NES in 1988. Developed and published by Data East. You play as Jenbarav Karnovsky, or Karnov for short. I would have gone with Jenny personally, but that's just me. You are a former circus strongman and fire breather inexplicably thrust into a bizarre adventure where you must battle your way through 9 levels to collect a treasure or something. The Famicom version actually has cutscenes and text to explain the story, but the NES version does not. Considered to be their mascot, Karnov appears in several other games by Data East. Your attack is your fire breath, which is going to require a lot of rapid fire button mashing. Or you could break out your NES Advantage for an automatic rapid fire. Now you're playing with power. This attack can be upgraded 2 times, but when you take damage it will decrease your power instead of hurting you. Normally you could only take 2 hits. This game is the definition of Nintendo hard. You can take 2 hits before dying, and for some reason you turn blue after the first hit. Karnov can collect several items that help him along the way. Some are more useful than others. The latter, for instance, is essential at times, whereas the bomb is practically useless. Look at all the crap he carries with him. Where did he pull that ladder from? Best not to speculate. Now you might think that in order to select an item that you would have to maybe pause the game or use the select button, but that's not the case here. You have to be walking in the direction you want the item cursor to move toward. It's awkward as hell, but you get there eventually. At random intervals, a dragon pops up out of nowhere. I have no idea why. It's not like this drops any cool power-ups or anything. It's like the game is saying, now have some of this! I can't help but think this would have made an awesome movie. I mean, look at this shit. A fire-breathing Russian strongman battling dinosaurs and wizards.
Shut up and take my money. It spins.
Here's some bullshit. Jump from a platform and you can maneuver your way down, but fall from a platform and you go straight down, gliding like a feather to your doom. On occasion you will find there are some pits that you can safely fall into to find useful power-ups. Collecting 50 of the letter K will give you an extra life, but it doesn't really matter since you have infinite continues. If you die in a level before reaching the halfway point, you start back at the beginning of the level. It's not easy to know sometimes when you have crossed the threshold though. There's nothing to indicate when you have reached the halfway point. You do get infinite continues to perfect your gameplay, however, and I can't imagine getting anywhere in this game without it. Some of the bosses require that you use your special items to defeat them. I found the latter effective for beating the T-Rex, and I couldn't even get close to beating the level 4 boss without the shield equipped. Unfortunately, once I did get past her, the game glitched out, and I've pretty much lost all patience with the game at this point. So I'm just going to say that while it's not a particularly rewarding game, it's worth checking out if you like that old school difficulty. I do think it's pretty unique for a platformer, but the level of difficulty might turn off the casual gamer. Anyway, it's worth pointing out, as I mentioned earlier, that the character did make cameo appearances in several other games, although his look was constantly changing for some reason. Maybe lay off the Stroganoff guy. The music is not terrible, but it is repetitive. Only time will tell if I can return to this one or not, but for now, I'm ready to move on. Developed and published by Data East in 1988, Bad Dudes was released as an arcade game before being ported to the NES, and several other platforms. We all had one of those, right? Now, it was originally marketed as Bad Dudes vs. Dragon Ninja, and that title pops up a lot in the foreign markets, but for North America, most people know it just as Bad Dudes. Okay, so right away we have Guile explaining the plot for us. The president has been kidnapped. You would think that maybe the military or some special task force would be sent to deal with this, but no. This looks like a job for 2 guys they picked from a Gold's Gym. Hey guys, you look pretty fit. Want to make some extra cash rescuing the fucking president? I guess. Let me finish my reps, brah. The game is a 2-player side-scrolling beat-em-up in the vein of Double Dragon. You play as either Blade or Striker, whichever dude seems baddest to you. Not that it matters, they both play the same. Alright, it's street fighting time. Make your way through the city against a never-ending slew of ninjas. You just have to keep on walking until you reach the first boss at the end of the screen. And it's Karnov. Jesus, what are they feeding this guy? It's difficult to talk about this game without the obvious comparisons to Double Dragon, which has a similar plot, swapping a president for a girlfriend, as well as similar gameplay, but while Double Dragon gives you the ability to broaden your skill set as you gain points, Bad Dudes pretty much leaves you with only the basic attacks you start with. You have a basic kick and punch, the charged punch, and a flying kick. Along the way, you can pick up dropped weapons left by enemies, but only the knife is particularly effective. The nunchucks are just sort of a waste of time. Holding down the B button for a few seconds will allow you to charge up a powerful punch that you probably won't bother to use, as the enemies won't be giving you much time between attacks. It's kinda useless, really. If you find yourself low on energy, you can replenish yourself by picking up a dropped pizza. Just like in real life, the enemies seem to endlessly respawn until you continue to move forward, which sucks because starting with Stage 2, you will encounter stages that take place on top of moving vehicles that slowly scroll along, meaning that you will have to fight a large wave of enemies while waiting for the vehicle either to stop or the screen to scroll forward enough to reach the boss. And it's Karnov again, with a palette swap, a classic way of recycling character sprites that pops up in NES titles frequently. Check out this guy. Looks eerily similar to that guy from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, doesn't he? The end of the game has you run a gauntlet of all the former bosses, plus the Dragon Ninja himself riding atop a helicopter. Once you actually get up there with him though, he's not that tough. The music's decent enough, and totally fits the tough guy action movie feel of the game. Level 2's theme is the best in my opinion. One thing that is slightly annoying is the way your character sort of seems to only be able to take baby steps. As a cheap way to lengthen a game, I would say unless you are just hell-bent on being the guy bad enough to beat bad dudes, you're better off playing something else. You might get some small satisfaction for making it all the way to the end and completing the game, but ultimately it's not very fulfilling.
I do also have this game for MS-DOS, and since I'm probably never going to be inclined to open it again, there's no better time than now. Smells like the 80s.
The cover says CD-ROM edition as if it means something. Huh. That's not what the game looks like. Looks like I'm going to need Windows 3.1 or higher. Well, let's just see what happens. Thanks to DOSBox, we can relive the magic of this forgotten gem. Okay, this is like my 6th attempt to play this. Despite the fact that the game is on CD-ROM, it actually has no music, only sound effects. Wow, say what you will about the graphics, but at least your character hauls ass in this one. I'm not very good at playing this with a keyboard. I can't seem to find some of the moves. And I couldn't get DOSBox to accept my Wingman controller, so this is it, folks. This is the worst looking and yet toughest Karnov yet. I don't remember him being this agile. Ah, the truck level. Okay, I got turned around, but oh. And I'm dead. Fuck it. That's Bad Dudes for DOS. It somehow manages to be better and worse than the NES port.